This ESPN podcast is brought to you by Geico. 15 minutes could save you 15% or more on car insurance. Visit geico.com.
The BS Report is a free-flowing conversation that occasionally touches on mature subjects. The BS Report. The BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Welcome to the BS Report. Taping this Monday afternoon, West Coast time. The queen of the WWE, Michelle Beadle, is here.
Wish. What if I really could be the queen of the WWE?
How have you not been in a match yet?
You know what my whole thing was? Because I would love to be something, but we've seen like their guest stars and all that. And, you know, Maria Menounos has done it and she wrestled. And so I always thought, well, if I do it, I want to do something different because otherwise it's just sort of like the same thing. I just don't know what you could do.
I have the idea. I've been known to have ideas from time to time.
All right, let me hear it. Do I have to wear something sexy because I don't want to?
No, like a Catwoman's outfit?
Yeah, no, you got to starve yourself.
Couldn't you manage somebody?
Wouldn't that be great?
Do you remember 30 years ago? I don't know if you watched wrestling 30 years ago.
I've gone back on the network.
You'd been 2 years old at the time. In the mid-'80s, Cyndi Lauper.
Oh, yeah.
Cyndi Lauper. I said Lauper. Cyndi Lauper. When her Time After Time, Lou Albano was in it. She went managing Wendy Richter. Some wrestler like fake knocked her out in the match or whatever. It became a whole thing. It led into what eventually became WrestleMania.
I remember her doing it. I just don't remember ever like really seeing it. I'd have to go. I bet it's on the network now. Do you have the
network? I think I like it.
Because the best part, let's be honest, the best part of Monday Night Raw is when they get on that microphone. Because the ones that are good are great, and the other ones are just working on their skills.
Paul Heyman's the best one.
There's no one like him.
He's unbelievable. Our wrestling guy wrote a great piece for Grantland about him, the best man.
Just about Paul.
Just about how he's like secretly the biggest star WWE has because they can do entire Raws where his whole speech at the end. He's
so good. I don't know that people truly appreciate how hard that is to go out there with these ridiculous stories and to remember them all. I mean, he's good. Talking's not easy.
Yeah, but how much do you think is like ad-lib versus, like, do you think they have bullet points in their head?
I do.
It's really hard to speak extemporaneously.
Really hard. I think for him, he's just so good at it. They're probably like, you know the storyline, this is what you're doing, yada, yada. I think some of them, they probably write it out a little bit more.
Because let's face it, not a lot of the wrestlers are Mensa scholars.
No. That's why when one's good, it's Mensa members?
Members. Mensa members. I'm not a Mensa member.
Oh, they asked, but I said no.
Not enough time. Sorry, Mensa.
Sorry, I'm really packed. I got stuff to do.
If you're stupid, it would be hard to remember, like, hey, we need to hit these 7 things during your
I mean, not that he's stupid,
soliloquy.
but let's just be Randy Orton's not great on the mic.
No.
That's all I got.
No, there's heat. There's heat with you and Randy Orton.
Like, sometimes you can look at a person and they're just sort of like, and you can tell. Like, Roman Reigns, I think, is going to get better as time goes on. And
there's a lot of ways. we do this gimmick on Grayland sometimes called How We'd Fix It.
Oh, it's so good.
I would love to do a How We'd Fix It for Roman Reigns. First of all, add some moves, Roman.
Oh, you don't like? Well, he's got the 2.
He's got the 2. Yeah. But we said the same thing about the Ultimate Warrior once upon a time in 1989.
You think they're just slowly kind of – because I don't think they planned the story.
Add a couple things. Add a couple – just keep trying to add wrinkles. Add a couple things.
Okay.
Don't just rely on the –
yeah.
And then the spear,
punch.
as much as my kids love it.
It is good.
It's really good. Jim Ross gave an interview like about a month ago, and somehow my name came up, and he said I would make a great wrestling manager, but he said I'd be a heel.
Oh, for sure you'd be a heel.
Be a heel wrestling manager.
First of all, you want to be a heel. It's way cooler.
You always want to be a heel. You get more heat.
You're acting surprised, though. Do you not see that?
It would have been nice if you said, I think he's such a good guy. I don't see him as a heel.
Bill.
I know.
You're anti-authority.
I know.
Okay, so there's no way you'd be a face. It's not. I think I would like to be a heel. I would never want to be a face. Heel all the way.
The parallels between the WWE and ESPN are kind of amazing.
Like what? Wait. Who is Vince? The skipper?
That's
kind of cool. No,
doesn't
feel like a Vince.
Yeah, he's not nefarious like
he's not.
No, but just the thing of like you have this hierarchy. People have to obey it. Or you'll get suspended by Twitter.
That's why I think Dolph Ziggler doesn't get a bigger push. I think he must have done something to somebody.
I thought it was his hair.
I mean, it's something.
Can't you have an intervention with him about the hair?
I wonder, because they have changed people's looks over the years, obviously. We've seen them come back as different characters.
A crew cut would be so helpful for him.
I wonder, would you recognize him, though? Because that's kind of his thing.
I just want to know, in the history of mankind, who that hair has helped. Who is the success
You mean
story?
like the bleach yellow?
The bleach yellow, scraggly kind of perm afro look?
I'm drawing complete blank.
I figured you would.
At 3 a.m., I'm going to jump up out of my bed and scream someone's name who it did help.
We sat next to each other at SummerSlam.
Yeah, we need to talk. Can I drink this, or is this Everclear?
It's a clean glass with water in it and some Kettle One. We like to have loose guests.
Yeah, because what I need is to be talking where people can hear it while drunk. Your daughter is like the best smack talker I've ever. And how old is she?
Is that a good quality, though? She's 9.
Fantastic.
Well, because she's been weaned on hockey games for 3 years.
She's good. I want you to know I told her nothing, and she's sitting to my right. Because I thought it was funny that when you moved down to sit next to Maria Menounos, I just want to remind everyone.
I didn't have a choice.
Whatever.
I didn't have a choice.
I took it as a personal affront. She stayed with us. When Rusev came out, I'm not kidding you. She's like, that's what you get for trying to come to our country and do that. I mean, I was
thought out.
She was amazing. And if you go back and watch during Cena, all you can hear is her. Like, let's go Cena.
I know.
All her.
Some people got mad about that, apparently.
Who?
I don't know. People who were watching the match was like, who's that annoying kid?
I mean, they're just mad they weren't there.
Here was the problem. The crowd was dead.
Thank you.
People were in shock.
Thank you.
She was the only person who was saying anything.
Because she didn't realize probably the gravity of what was happening in front of us.
Somebody sent me an email, and they said it was a lot. It was almost like they stole the Seahawks-Broncos Super Bowl storyline of,
interesting.
The Seahawks are just going to beat the hell out of the Broncos and Peyton Manning for 4 quarters, and it's going to be an annihilation. Let's do that for a match.
You're right, though. The building was, like, done.
Well, at some point, the cool thing about wrestling sometimes – God, we're such dorks.
We are such dorks.
The cool thing about wrestling sometimes is when you're watching, you're going, wait a second, this seems real. I think somebody got mad at somebody. Well, I think Brock Lesnar's trying to kill John Cena right now.
Okay, so with Brock Lesnar, I always feel like we run the risk that he has an MMA flashback and then forgets that you're not really doing it.
Hey, dude.
Every time he's in the ring, I think that. And there were a couple moments during that Cena match when I was just like, I wonder if he's kind of gone off the rails here. Like, is this part of what I'm supposed to be watching?
He did like 17 suplexes.
It's like a history.
And they really hurt. We were pretty close. We were in the first row behind the Spanish announcers table that somehow in the first time in the history of wrestling nobody went through.
I know, but I think they tried. I feel like they were trying, and then something happened.
I told my son, I wish I had audio of this conversation. I'm talking to my son. I'm like, we're in front of the Spanish announcers table. This is going to be awesome. Somebody always goes through the Spanish announcers table, and he's looking at me like, what do you mean? They know ahead of time? And I'm like, no, it's just a coincidence. The Spanish announcer table just attracts people. That's how it works. Yeah, and he's like, I get it.
It's like Santa. You can't say anything yet.
Well,
let him figure it out.
He has at least 12, 13 more years before he realizes.
Real to me.
Real to me, damn it.
It's my favorite line.
But he was. I thought he might cry when Cena got beaten up because he's seen as this guy.
That face when he with the hands in the hair, like he was a stressed out 45-year-old.
I took a good picture of it.
It was so good.
The best thing that happened was when they told us we could take our chairs home. I think he would have cried if it wasn't for the chairs because we lost or Cena lost, and then he was like,
"We lost.
We're not leaving. We're not leaving
I wasn't
with the chairs." Anywhere. Yeah, he was like. So once I told him about the chairs, he was like, "All right, I'm going to focus on the chairs, and I'll mourn the Cena loss later."
He carried it out by himself.
He carried it out by himself.
Yeah, I wasn't going anywhere. I've been to a couple of those now where I have a set of 6 chairs, I believe. So I knew because that's the thing. A lot of people don't know you get to keep those chairs.
We have 4 of them now.
I mean, we could have like a party between you and me.
You know how much, can I just on a scale of 1 to 10, how much my wife hates those chairs?
12.
Yeah. 27. Yeah.
Well, they're not probably part of the
He brings them out. My son brings them out. He tries to hit my daughter with them.
No, he doesn't.
Well, fake hit them, but it's like, can you really, when the chair's half as much as he is, he's trying to fake hit people with it.
That's going to end badly because those are not light chairs.
I was impressed, though. You brought your boyfriend. Mm-hmm. And it could have gone either way with Beadle's boyfriend, where it's like he's there he knows you like it, so he's kind of going through the motions, or he's as much of a psycho.
I lucked out. He's as much of a psycho.
He's really into it.
Yeah. I've always been complaining, I can't find a guy who likes sports and whatnot. I'm just kidding. Right. It's like complete opposite. He's totally a nerd about it too. I mean, to the point where he's shown me like pictures when he was younger with Stone Cold Steve Austin t-shirts on. And so that's good because I've been in relationships before where I almost had to hide my love of WWE in shame. And now I just wear it proudly.
Well, on the surface, it's a cliche where you have a Tony Award-winning actor who's a huge wrestling fan. Yeah. I just feel like I've seen that so many times.
So over that story.
It's just so...
Oh, he also won a Grammy.
He won a Grammy, too?
Yes, he has both. And they're just sitting, like, on a dresser drawer, like, all
What looks cooler?
The Grammy. I feel like the Grammy, I respected Tony, obviously.
What does the Tony look like?
It's like a rectangular sort of bottom with a spinning circular thing on top, and I want to say it's silver while the Grammy's gold is what it is. The
Peabody, we won an Emmy, which is cool, and it's got these wings on the end of it that like you could stab people with, and somebody who won more who was with us, she actually did accidentally stab somebody with the Emmy. They were coming up the escalator and they stumbled right into her Emmy, and it was like 8 minutes after we won. I was like, oh my god, we're gonna have to
there blood?
Give it. We thought so, but there wasn't. But that was like within 8 minutes of swimming. But
is it heavy, by the way? Because I feel
heavy.
Like they always talk about heavy.
Couple weird things. Yeah, it's got really two sharp ends.
Yeah.
You have to grab it by like right under the breasts of the fake Emmy person, which is where you're carrying around like this trophy, and it's super heavy.
Where do you have it?
It's like in my living room. The Peabody Award looks cool though.
What does that one look like?
He looks like the Dos Equis guy.
How big is it?
It's like, I'm going to say it looks like a big discus on a little mount thing with the Dos Equis guy. And it's really cool. It's a good conversation piece.
Dos Equis guy. What's that?
Who's that? Why do you have a Dos Equis? No, that's actually George Peabody or whatever his name is.
I would be like, that's a softball trophy. We won our league.
We won our intramural league.
Oh, cool. That's cool, man.
So you like L.A., as I knew you would.
Did you really know I would? Because I didn't know I would. I thought I would.
You're like me. You're a conflicted person, and the Pacific Ocean just put it on in perspective.
It does. It's
a calming influence for you.
That's what it is. I feel very even keel here. Whereas and this is the thing, because I go back to New York periodically for a couple days at a time. And even though I may not have anywhere to be, it's like you get on the subway, you get off the subway, and it's frenetic. I mean, you just feel like I'm supposed to be somewhere, I'm stressed out. And that's gone from my
It's the wrong energy.
Life. Yeah. It's very, I know, I like it way more than I thought I would.
Oh, have you told the public yet, or are they just finding out? Finding out right now?
I've heard from a couple guys because they were the ones that remembered me saying, snarky comments about people who live in LA and how I would never live here.
Snarky comments from you?
I know. Well, it happens once in a blue moon. But yeah, so I've had to sort of eat crow and say, but in my defense, I'm out by the water too. I also think that makes a big difference in my life because that water, that ocean.
Water and waves, they do a lot of magic.
Makes you happy.
Plus, I've always felt like I was on West Coast time my whole life.
Really?
Never realized it. Yeah,
because I like to go to bed early.
Here?
Yeah. No.
In general?
Coast, on the East Coast. So I would want to go to bed early. Oh, and I would always be like, because I wouldn't stay up for games. I couldn't stay up for games. So here,
you're on like Russian time then.
Yeah, I don't know what time.
Maybe you're in the wrong country.
Maybe I'm like one of those. What is it? Narcoleptic when you fall asleep all the time.
Oh,
yeah.
Kimmel has an issue with that.
Like
just take
really
little
does?
pills. Yeah, he takes pills.
So he could just.
But it's totally fixable. You just take these pills and you don't fall asleep.
Wow, that's.
But yeah, he would.
For everything.
He would have. Yeah. So
I should do a show once without the pills.
That's Narcolepsy Week. That's a great idea.
That's not a bad idea. You could have people on with like weird things they have.
Have boring guests and no take the pills.
Give them all bigger complexes. Oh man, that's a
when I was on the East Coast, I was always up till 3 a.m.
Oh, see, okay, yeah.
And I always had trouble getting up. And now I came to the West Coast, and now I feel like everything is.
What time do you get up here?
Well, that's a problem. I get up at like 6:15, 6:30.
Yeah. Oh, because we're adults.
And
that's what you do.
There's like, I have a website to worry about. And
you have stuff to do.
I wake up and I don't know what's going to happen. And especially like when you're in charge of a website that's got to run things. And it's like in the old days, you just wake up, be like, oh, that happened.
Right.
But like today
was.
You wake up and it's like, so TMZ posted a video a half hour after I went to bed.
Wow.
Of Ray Rice that I didn't know about. And now the internet's blowing up.
Bed?
It was like 1 p.m. West Coast time, right? Yeah, they put it up. It's kind of devious by them. I'm not saying in a bad way, but like they picked like the optimal time to screw with the NFL.
Well, they're not stupid.
Right.
Yeah.
So it's like, so somehow Ray Rice owned the news cycle today. We're taping this 1:30
you're right.
West Coast time. But like to overshadow Week 1 NFL is impossible.
For a league that's so concerned with perception, it's very interesting to me. We ultimately on Sports Nation did talk about football, but everyone across the board. Like, you could talk about this only all day and it would be perfectly fine.
How did you handle it on Sports Nation?
We just started the show with it, and then I sort of led that conversation. Just that, normally I would be harping on the fact that, like, it took the Ravens that long. It took the league after the team did something, which is also too long. And then it seems like obviously public perception and anger is what fueled it. Normally that would bother me anyways, even though the end result was what it should have been. But today I just sort of feel like, okay, fine, maybe this is a step in the right direction. Maybe people are starting to open their eyes that this is not, you can't turn a blind eye. And it just so happens this particular case had video proof. I mean, 99% of the time, we're never going to have video proof. When you have that and you still seemingly don't want to make the big call as far as punishment is concerned, that alarmed me. As a fan of football, I don't want to feel bad about myself for wanting to watch the games. And I felt like that this morning. Like, I don't want to watch the games, but I love football. But I sort of feel like the league looks at me, as a woman, like, we're disposable. You're not really that important.
And we gave you a month. Everyone wearing pink jerseys.
Get over it.
Yeah. So that's the deal.
I mean, I've seen a couple of those today. Why are you beating a dead horse? Move on. He's paid the price. Yada yada. And I'm like, it's just frustrating. But it's also Twitter. And as you've told me many times, don't get on there and read those things.
Well,
stop.
Yeah, you go through the replies, but you'll retweet dumbass people, which in a way discourages some dumbass people, but then also enables the other ones to be like, oh, I might get retweeted if I say something idiotic.
When I retweet those, my dream is not to be like, oh, hey, I'm going to engage with you. My ultimate dream, and what I hope happens at least once before I die, is that an employer of one of these morons one time is reading these and seeing the kinds of things that their employees are tweeting publicly, and then just fires them. And then, downward spiral for that particular person. I would love that.
The first time this happened, not this, but just you got involved in this somehow because
Ray Rice?
Yeah, and Stephen A. had said some stuff that he's apologized for since, but you were on Twitter, you were watching the show, or were you watching live or you saw a video after?
No, I wasn't watching live. I saw a piece of video. I think someone had it on when I was in the newsroom. I mean, as you know here, we don't have a ton of people out in LA in the office, so it's a kind of a quiet newsroom.
So you saw it and
I saw it, and then I was just sort of like, wait, what? And then I had such a reaction to it. And I know that there were political ways where you're supposed to handle things within a company, but I stand by how I handled it. I wouldn't have done it differently. I know it put a lot of people in awkward positions as far as like what they had to say and do, but sometimes I just feel like, just because we all work at the same place doesn't mean we agree with what each other's saying. And I don't know why that has to be such a big deal. It's a discussion. It's bizarre that it got blown up the way it did.
I think it would have happened anyway, to a large degree, but I don't think a lot of people knew about it until you got upset about it.
Great.
Well, because, I think you put a spotlight on just the whole thing. Yeah. And once you got riled up about it, I think it was kind of lurking there, and you were kind of the catalyst. And also, as one of the most visible women on the network, then that you came out and you were affected by it, I think affected people.
Yeah. It's one of those things where you're just sort of like, and it would be one thing if it was the only person in the world that thought a certain way or that, but as we found out, or as I really found out, that's not the case. And even today with what we've seen now, and by the way, why are we surprised at that video? Is it disgusting to watch? Absolutely. But did anyone really think it was going to go down differently when we did finally see this video? I didn't.
I got to say, obviously you knew it was going to be appalling.
Sure.
The thing that I was stunned by that really resonated with me was the lack of remorse after her head hit the side of the rail.
Zero.
And he wasn't like, oh my God, I just hurt somebody I love. It was more like, it was like he was disposing of a body. And that was the part that bugged me the most. Yeah. Just the way his reaction to it, and who knows how drunk he was, who knows whatever. I don't know what the factors that led into it, but his reaction was not of somebody who cared about another human being.
No, it wasn't.
And that's what left me the most disturbed.
I
kind of wish I hadn't watched it.
I don't. I mean, I feel like as a country, especially with those types of shocking videos that are out there, whether it be sports or politics or what have you, we have to watch those videos.
Yeah, I know.
Because we are so soft. I mean, look how offended we get as a people by words, by the idea that so-and-so thinks this. These videos, I mean, the rest of the country, the rest of the world, they're not like this. They're not like, oh, we can't see that video. We need to protect our little baby eyes.
It's true.
You got to watch it, because if you want to talk about something and you want to get mad about something or you want to defend something, it could go both ways. You need to know what exactly it is you're defending or you're arguing against. And I feel like those types of videos, whatever they might be, need to be seen every single time. And maybe it's the Italian side of me, because, you know, in Europe, they'll put everything on the front page of a newspaper. There is no censorship as far as like blood and what have you. And I think it's done a disservice to us as a people. We've become very soft as a result of not wanting to see things.
That's why we like each other, because we both have the Italian side.
Yeah, I know.
It's a great side.
It's a hard side.
You don't take any crap.
You hold.
You're a hothead. You hold grudges. People only get one chance, and that's it, and they're
baby.
out.
Psh, dead to me.
I was just saying that to somebody the other day. They were like, well, whatever. What's going to happen there? I was like, what do you mean what's going to happen? They failed me, and they're out. There's no.
What do you mean? What's the question?
There's no second chance in the Simmons universe.
No. Why? Life is short. There are 6-7 billion people on Earth.
Yeah.
Why do you get 2 chances?
Yeah. Well,
no, sorry.
Well, you're going to atone for something I'm never going to forgive you for anyway? You're out.
It is funny. Some people, I know this is going to come as a shock to you, some people don't think that quality is cute in us.
Apparently.
Some people think we're a little bit
This is why the Italians are controversial. My thing is, I'm only half Italian. I really would fear for mankind if I was 100%.
I would, if my dad was also Italian, there's no way I'd still be here. I would have killed somebody by now.
Yeah.
Like the rage and the jealousy and it would have been a bad ending already. But as it is,
thank God,
controlling it.
Thank God you've only almost killed somebody. You haven't actually killed somebody.
God, it's so scary.
So did you think, this is a really important question, and I don't think we'll ever know the answer. And if we do know the answer, and it is not the answer that the NFL would want, I think Roger Goodell would have to resign immediately. Do you think he saw the video before he did the suspension? Because I go both ways on it.
So I know, and this has obviously been the topic. Kellerman thinks there's no way they saw it, which is beautiful to think. Again, being a cynic and also realizing the amount. I mean, look, the NFL is the most powerful sports, entertainment, whatever you want to call it, entity in the world. The lawyers they have at their disposal are probably the best that money can buy. I just have a hard time with the idea that they couldn't get that tape for viewing purposes, but TMZ could. It doesn't sit well with me.
So you think, under that premise, Harvey Levin is more powerful and connected than Roger Goodell?
Who knew sitting in a studio and drinking smoothies made you so powerful? I'm a lawyer. Yeah, no, and in this day and age, by the way, like we weren't going to see that video. We saw Jennifer Lawrence nude, for God's sakes. We're going to see an elevator video. That's
what amazed me about this whole thing, having spent my fair share of time in casinos.
Obviously.
You cannot go anywhere in a casino without a camera. It's impossible. So for this to happen in an elevator, but we only saw the aftermath footage, you knew it was coming out.
I mean, you knew it existed.
So either the NFL had to be like, we're suspending it for 2 games unless.
And like lose the tape. Just make that tape disappear. Somebody had to.
I got to be honest, with how bad Roger Goodell's been in the last 8 years, I wouldn't be shocked if they were like, we'll do 2 games, get rid of the tape.
Yeah.
It wouldn't shock me.
Is that
I'm
the
not saying
highest
he
level
did
of
it.
arrogance to assume that you could get rid of something like that?
Think how many cover-ups we've had. Who are the types of people that cover up stuff over, what kind of politicians cover up things?
Yeah.
When you look at American history, it's usually people who aren't smart enough to have the job they have and are super stubborn and arrogant about the power they have.
Stubbornness is a wonderfully difficult trait because it's impossible to argue with. You can't bring someone off that stubborn ledge like that. They're going to do what they're going to do. I don't know, and we're never going to find out. We'll never find out unless somebody just.
I find it hard to believe that nobody knew the tape existed and was as bad as it was.
Oh, I'll never believe they don't think it existed.
But first of all, that tape's been out since February.
Where has it been?
So we are now month 7 since the first TMZ round. Where they had just the photo of her pulling her out of the elevator. That was like mid-February. So this is now almost 7 months later.
So do you think they sat on it to specifically do it at this moment during the season? Or do you think, I mean, where else would the tape, didn't we see it right away?
Well, I love conspiracies.
Obviously.
My conspiracy theory in this one is that the casino handled some part of this incorrectly and tried to bury the tape. Now, how does TMZ get it? I don't know. But the casino must have done something they were worried about where they were like, tape, we're not giving it to anybody. Because I really find that hard to believe that it wouldn't have come out at all.
You mean like they didn't
they didn't volunteer it. They said the elevator was broken or like whatever. They came up with some excuse and now maybe there's a civil suit or who knows. It's so strange. So
interesting. And then, then she goes and marries him. So that's a whole nother topic of conversation that people seem to they're hung up on. It's as if the idea that, she married him, so clearly she doesn't have a problem with it. That's spoken from a complete lack of knowledge of what a victim is mentally prepared to do and not do. And,
the cover-up syndrome.
Sure, absolutely. Look, if you're a woman who has a certain lifestyle, you have a child, and the alternative is now to leave and go out on your own and disappear with no money, that is terrifying to a lot of people. And they're not going to do it because you think they're going to change.
It does seem like there's been some tipping points with domestic violence over the years. Like I remember pre-OJ, post-OJ, right?
Right.
In 94. And we knew that OJ beat up his wife and he got arrested. I forget the whole chain of events, but it was out there.
Yeah.
He never lost an endorsement or a gig or anything for it. It just kind of came and went. And then post-OJ, it became a thing.
Yeah.
So now you think like this Ray Rice thing, I wonder what this Ray Rice thing, I make it sound like it's, this Ray Rice scandal, I guess. Yeah. I don't know what the right word would be. I wonder what the outcome is going to be long-term and how it affects people and how they look at this stuff.
I think the most enlightening thing that came out of today was watching the number of current and former NFL players finally speak up. Because to me, it's one thing for all of us talking heads and the public and what have you to have our opinions on it. At the end of the day, the NFL is not going to care and there's only so much we can actually say and do. But if you're a current and former player and you finally are like, enough is enough, like that video was a disgrace. It was disgusting as a man, as a member of this family called the NFL. To see that, I was like, those voices are so much more powerful than I think they probably realize. Just a simple tweet by a current player is a big deal because I'm so used to athletes just sort of having each other's back. And, if it doesn't affect them, they have no opinion on it. It's a very normal human way to go about life. But I feel like in that world specifically, it's just a very sort of stick together kind of thing. And so I hope that is what we get out of this as well. Like, stop accepting the behaviors of your colleagues and the arrests and the mistakes and the drunk driving and the beating of the wife. Just stop accepting it. It's not okay. It's part of what you are selling us as a product, and it makes everyone look bad.
And I wrote about Goodell, who I just think has been terrible the last 8 years. I wrote about him on Thursday, and one of the things I was wondering was like, is there some larger way all this stuff is connected where they don't, they test these guys, but let's be honest, like the guys they catch versus the amount of guys that are doing whatever.
Sure.
And it's not just HGH and steroids, but it's all the Toradol and painkillers and, the concussions that are either undiagnosed or the guys come back too soon. And to me, it's all part of the same picture. The helmets aren't quite safe enough yet. And it's just like if you put these people, you make them these warriors and they're just taking insane amount of punishments and they're putting stuff in their body that makes them go up and down.
Absolutely.
It's going to affect them off the field and in their private lives too, whether it's with the Ray Rice thing or whether it's like Aldon Smith, how crazy he's been.
Yeah.
It's going to have ramifications.
I sometimes wonder if, and specifically the NFL, if it's a case of sometimes, and this is a horrible indictment on myself, but sometimes I will throw my water bottle in the garbage and not the recycling. And my argument is always, well, I'm not going to be around when this actually starts to affect the earth. I wonder if there's a little bit of that with current people in charge like NFL, because we know the lawsuits are here. They're starting. They're going to be many, many more before it's all said and done. We know the effects that these drugs these guys are taking just to tolerate the pain are going to have these long-term effects. But maybe they also know, it's a good 15 years down the line, 20 years down the line. It's not going to be my problem by then. I will have long since retired.
And let's be honest, WWE had much worse issues than NFL. If the NFL is like a 3 out of 10, then WWE is a 10.
I mean, you were losing a guy, and very violently, some of them, a week, a month. Every week there was something that Chris Benoit, like there were.
There's a site called Dead Wrestlers.
It's yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
God,
just to have all of them. Site. Yeah, the Chris Benoit thing took it to 19 levels beyond where anyone expected. But the more we learned about concussions and how much these guys did it, I mean, there was this whole chair shot era in the WWE that went from like 1998 to 2006 or whatever.
Yeah.
And God, how many concussions must he have had? Like he was crying out for help by the end of when he finally lost it.
My assumption is you get hit in the head once, you get a concussion. Like I feel like it's that hard of a hit. So it blows my mind that we just sort of go about our business and know. But look, at the end of it, if these guys don't care enough to say, I have another concussion, I got to sit out, how can we get so angry? It's not my life. I mean, I don't
Wes Welker. He's had like 3 or 4 reported ones, but probably 5 others that we don't know about. Not even counting college.
I know he's nowhere near wanting to retire. I know he's like young and still wants to play. But I feel like Wes Welker's headed down a bad road.
Yeah.
And I don't think it's going to get better. And it scares me because, the guy's pretty young. I'm sure he wants to have a family, and you're not going to be able to like be around for that. And if you are, it's not going to be in a good state. So it scares me a little bit. There's that need to be out there and playing, and you're making all that money, and I get that. But the lack of sight as far as the future is concerned, it's like when we're children. Like, I'm just worried about tomorrow. 10 years from now, that's like forever. No, it's really not, actually. It's quite scary how quickly that gets here.
I was thinking about that. I mean, this is a crazy tangent, but I was in Vegas a few weeks ago, and I probably did the drunk drinking smoking thing and smoked 15 cigarettes, but I never smoke.
15?
I was gambling.
Like one after another?
I was on a run.
Oh, okay.
No, it was like over 9 hours.
Okay.
Then I'm thinking the next day, I'm like, what am I doing? I'm going to be 45 in September, this month. I'm like, what am I doing to myself? My body must be like, dude.
Yeah.
We thought this was over 12 years ago. What's wrong with you?
We'd already cleared everything out.
Yeah.
What are you doing?
We were moving to the next phase.
I mean, I also think you and I, like, as we're getting older, there's sort of that stubborn, like, no, I'm not.
You don't want to give it up yet.
Yeah. I can still hang. I can't hang. I'm in bed by like 10 o'clock. There's no hanging.
You can hang a little.
Yeah. I mean, I like the wine, but yeah, it's not like it used to be. But that is funny. I don't think our bodies anyways, are very happy when we decide to regress. 15 cigarettes, it's going to taste like crap in the morning.
It was awful.
Oh.
I hated myself the next day. Like pure hatred. Except I was on a run, so it was all worth it.
What are you going to do?
What can you do?
What are you going to do?
You gotta keep rolling. So do you see yourself becoming a little more, I don't know what the right word is?
Oh, man, I could go anywhere with that. Flamboyant, domestic.
How about outspoken?
Oh, well, I mean, this has been, I think, when all of this happened and continued into today, my goal is not, first of all, I don't have any goals. I woke up at 6 o'clock this morning to a text from a buddy that was like, have you seen the video? It's disgusting. And
you're half Italian, you shoot from the hip.
Yeah. And I was raised, my dad's a little more like, choose your battles wisely. Don't just say everything you want to say. Whereas my mom is like, say whatever you want. And so I woke up to that, and as soon as I saw it, I was like, oh, here we go. Like this is it. I feel like as long as I want to fight the good fight. I mean, I have opinion on everything. It's part of being an obnoxious person. I'm an obnoxious person who has an opinion on everything, and I'm assuming that everyone needs to hear my opinion.
Right.
And Twitter's voluntary at the end of the day, so you don't have to follow. But yeah, I think that I found out through this that I do have a bit of a voice, and that I shouldn't either throw that away or waste it or just take it for granted. It's been a very interesting, eye-opening thing. It was sort of like, you use these forms of social media like, oh my God, I got a selfie, I got my hair done. Like that's kind of what it's been used for a lot of us, for me, what have you. And then when you take that turn and people are used to me just being, a pirate on a silly sports show with crazy videos, it was a little out of context for some. I'm sure that they were shocked I had a brain. And I feel like I need to do something with that, not just waste it. Like I don't want to waste it. I think there are a lot of young girls out there and up and coming women, and even just this business or any business, that I don't want to waste what I might have here and not use it a little bit more. So yeah, I just have to, if you do it smartly, I feel like there's nothing to apologize for.
You've had a really interesting journey the last few years.
Oh, well, you mean that 2-year vacation I took?
If you were a tree, what tree would you be? No.
What's your favorite curse word?
Well, you were at Sports Nation with Colin.
Right.
It was going great.
Mm-hmm.
Then you became frustrated by a lot of the same things that I've become frustrated with from time to time over the years.
Sure.
The grass is always greener. You get a lot of people, big Twitter following, and doing great. And you're like, I'm going to go here.
Yeah,
They're going to create this show for me, and I'm going to do great. And then you go to this other network, and without going into too many details, it was is comedy of errors a fair phrase?
Yes. And also a complete misjudgment on the people that I'd be working with. Like, yes. I was what I believe. Like, I went into that thinking, you know, oh, it's a big, brand new, fresh thing that they're trying to put together. So they're going to want like all these different personalities. When at the end of the day, that's not the case. I think at the end of the day, male, older, and white is probably where we're going to stick in that particular place.
Well, it was weird because, I mean, we're not like best friends or anything, but I feel like I know you pretty well.
Yeah.
We have a lot of mutual friends.
Yeah.
I have a pretty good handle on the Beadle experience. You're at your best when you're playing off people.
Right.
I saw that show. I saw the first show. I was like, uh-oh.
Oh, God.
I don't like the format, and she would never hang out with that guy. Just fundamentally. But this is like a whole TV thing. Like, they don't think about chemistry with stuff a lot lot of times. And this is any network. They're just like, well, we'll put those two together.
They take it for. I think they take it for granted.
We'll put those five together.
And I think they say, oh, they're professionals. We'll put them out there. We'll turn that light on, and we'll say go, and it'll be fine.
They just need some reps.
Yeah, reps. That's my favorite thing.
Can you imagine like having a friend and be like, yeah, I went on this date. It was terrible. You just need some reps.
Yeah, just keep going a couple more.
Keep going on more dates with them,
and
eventually you'll have the chemistry. It's like, nah.
Do 3 more months of dates and see what happens.
3 more dates. Go away with them. Go away for a week. That'll be great. You need reps on a vacation.
Chemistry is such a beautiful thing when it happens. And I would like to believe that those in charge of what we do here in any network, anywhere across the board would get that. But I don't know what happens. It's like you become a suit and you forget the chemistry is actually that big a deal. Because when you have it, you know. You're just like, oh, this is easy. It's painless. I respect this person. I may not agree with them, but I like working with them.
It's funny. You and Colin had chemistry, but easy. I wouldn't have guessed it.
No, me neither.
Like on paper, like if just you're two separate career paths.
Yeah.
And knowing Colin, first of all, I have chemistry with Colin when I do his radio show.
Yeah.
The way to go at Colin is just to make fun of him.
He loves it.
He loves it. He gets disarmed. You want Colin on the defensive. That's how you play him.
That's how you do it.
And you always knew that from the get-go, and you guys always had a really good chemistry, and you were able to take all of the harsher stuff about the way, like, the harsher talking head stuff and defang it and turn him into more of a person you'd hang out with and talk sports with.
Yeah, it was and that was the thing, because he came in there with a following, but they also had this idea of who he was. So you either loved him or hated him. And if you hated him, it was because of what you're describing. Like, he's like that guy on the radio that's with the opinions and he's wrong. And it was interesting because then we do that TV show and he's dressing up like a pirate and he's having things poured on him. And it's just like, okay, it's just different. I think, and it was such a good group, and we were sort of like the detention class over in the corner, like, hey, let's see if we can get away with this time. And okay, no one said anything. We'll just keep going. And it's fun. It was fun.
I think Coward is a really unique talent because I so envy the ability to be able to talk to yourself for 10 minutes.
Hours.
I just don't understand it. It's like so foreign to me. I can't ask these guys who help me do the podcast. I can't even do like promos by myself.
Because you feel weird, right?
I need somebody with me.
I know.
I need to be playing off somebody at all times.
I agree.
I don't understand how you can be like, all right, coming back, I'm going to talk to me about the Ray Rice thing.
I'm going to ask myself some questions.
Corolla's the same way.
It's a gift.
Corolla does this thing where he tips his head back, and we always make fun of him for it. And he's just pontificating. At that point, you could all leave the room, and he wouldn't know for 4 minutes.
Wait a minute. So he's talking while he's like the head's back?
Like you're there, and he's like, oh, here's the thing about Fast and the Furious. If you do, and you're like, I could leave right now and get a drink and come back, and he wouldn't know I left.
That's amazing.
But there's certain people that can just do that.
Yeah,
they can just go.
It's a talent. Whether you like it or not, it's really not an easy thing to do, I don't think.
I feel like radio is best when it's two people. I grew up on Mike and the Mad Dog. It's still the best radio show for me, the 90s, early 90s.
Mike and the Mad Dog? Or
early 90s Mike and the Mad Dog.
I was going to say.
Which one?
Oh, I thought you meant now, in its current state.
I was going back to the early 90s, actually. But
I missed that because I wasn't in that part of the country.
When two people have chemistry and they're just playing off each other, that's always going to be the best radio. But what Colin does is really hard. It's a much higher degree of difficulty. He's really good at it. He always has a hard angle. He sells it. puts thought into it.
Yeah.
Doesn't mail it in. I think he's good. But yeah, I liked you guys together. I would not have guessed that would have worked.
I know. It's
you
funny.
probably didn't either.
No, I mean, I was one of the last people to audition for the gig, and when I got up to Bristol, they were like, "Oh, let's go have lunch in the cafeteria together. You guys sit and see what happens." And it was like, "Oh, okay." It's a conversation, and it was normal. But I wouldn't have guessed it would be. Yeah, I wouldn't have guessed it. And when you leave that sort of situation, and then you work with other people, you're like, "Oh, yeah, that was not common. That was special."
Yeah. Damn it.
Also, I hate your guts.
Just think Tim Duncan would have been like that if he went to Orlando in 2001.
Oh, my.
Or 2000. What year was that? 2000.
2000.
Deep in the deep recesses of my archives from like maybe 2002, I have a whole thing about how stupid he was for not leaving and going to Orlando.
You're the worst.
I know.
It's because you hate the Spurs.
No. Oh, yeah, I forgot. I hate the Spurs.
You hate the Spurs.
I've only written so many nice things. No, but it was like, remember that one year when Robinson was getting old?
Yeah.
Before you knew Parker was good, before they knew Ginobili was good, and it was like, oh, man.
Yeah, because they had a lot of like pieces that were not.
Yeah, and he was the MVP in 2002, and they didn't make – I don't even think they made the Western Finals, but everybody was like, oh, poor Duncan.
I wonder if he would have been a different person had he changed teams. Because I do feel like Pop and he were just destined. I mean, they were destined to be in each other's lives. So I wonder if – because Duncan is notoriously quiet, a very dry and sarcastic person if you can get it out of him. That's the thing, though. He's very good at not letting you get it out of him. So I wonder if he'd gone to like an Orlando, would he be different than what we know now?
I don't know. I think he's probably the most unique star the league's ever had. Really? I was trying to do a feature with him forever.
Yeah.
And the Spurs people really like me, and they were like, well, ask him, but just so you know, he doesn't read stuff. I was like, what do you mean? Doesn't read anything? He's like, no, doesn't go on the internet, doesn't read things.
No.
Doesn't care. Like, literally doesn't care. He doesn't care what his legacy is. Doesn't care, like, oh, it's time for me to put out a piece. Like,
oh, God, no.
Just doesn't care.
I remember one time there was a picture of he and Pop were at a boxing something or other, I think in San Antonio, like training, like exercising. And I texted him and I'm like, are you boxing now? Like, what's going on? He's like, what are you talking about? And I sent the picture, and he's like, what is that? I'm like, the idea that there was a picture on the internet. I'm like, yeah, no, there's a lot of pictures on the internet. What are you doing? It's a good way to live your life, actually.
He wasn't like, what is that? What's that photo? It's like, what is that? What is that internet?
I know. What is this internet you speak of? Where is it?
So they went to him, and they asked him when I want to do my thing, and he's like, no. And that was it. So then Nash did the finish line thing with us, the shorts about his thing. And he texted me after the third one, and he's like, I saw Duncan. He loves the thing we're doing. And it was like the best compliment I ever got. I was like, oh, really? What else did he say? It was like a 14-year-old girl finding out, like, somebody in ninth grade. Like,
do you think he'll call me?
Did he say anything else? What exactly did he say?
How did he say it? Which part did he emphasize?
Did you bring it up or did he bring it up?
So good.
And I was so fired up. But then I was thinking, like, imagine Duncan, like, watching this video. Like, how did it happen? How did it come about? Did somebody give it to him?
Oh, yeah. Hey,
was he in his office? Was it like, hey, you got to see this? Is he thinking about his own mortality?
Was it late at night?
Yeah. Like, what was going on?
So many questions.
So many questions for Tim Duncan.
For Tim Duncan.
He goes back. He swims.
I mean, he's a different cat, that one. Very different. And I like it. I like everything about it, actually.
He's the most beloved teammate, I think. Maybe him and Magic, I think, are the two that just all the other teammates just love the guy and swear by the guy and specifically don't want to leave. LeBron is moving into that category.
He's definitely he's going towards a better place, I think, as far as, I mean, look, whatever the public thinks is one thing, but it seems though like teammates genuinely.
Well, people are following LeBron.
Yeah. I mean, that's a big
If he
deal.
can get Ray Allen to move to Cleveland.
You can get anyone. I mean, no offense.
No, well, Ray Allen's like at this point, he just had South Beach. His career's almost over.
Sell.
The Clippers are trying to get him. He could live in wherever.
Manhattan Beach.
Yeah, or Malibu or the Palisades and just be Ray Allen and do Ray Allen things.
Imagine
Go to dinner and And LeBron's like, hey, dude, one more year. Come on, you and me.
Come on, man.
We got unfinished business.
Unfinished business is the best.
So why do the Spurs fans... Why do they think everybody hates them so much?
Well, because everyone acts like they hate them. So there's A. B, they're not flashy, and I think that's part of the words like boring and no one wants to watch, and just who cares? There aren't any big stars. Which, by the way, there aren't any big stars. It's the dumbest thing I've ever.
Didn't the 2013 finals kind of kill that?
Yeah, I think
it was like one of the 5 best finals ever.
Yeah.
And they emerged as like this tragic figure, and everyone who loves basketball was kind of secretly pulling for them to redeem themselves.
I mean, good Lord, people. And I do think it became a little trendier last year to sort of jump on that bandwagon. But for as long as I've been a Spurs fan, and granted, there were a lot of horrible years when I was in like my teens. It's just the way it is. Look, I think we're in the middle of the country. It's San Antonio, Texas. There's no flash. There's no, it's not New York. It's not LA. It's not Chicago. And so part of that is already like, well, we don't know anything about those guys. They don't do commercials. We never see them on a national stage. And then you throw in the fact that, it's genuinely a team in every sense of the word.
Yeah.
That bores people. That bores young fans, because I think young fans today are used to like this flash and commercials here and there and this sort of arrogant swagger. That's not what they are.
What's interesting, though, is they have a bunch of one-of-a-kind people.
Yeah.
Duncan will never see another Duncan, I don't think. Somebody who's going to play 20 years like that at that level. Parker is one of a kind, like his style of play. Ginobili, same thing.
I mean,
and Popovich,
Pop is
one of a kind. So they're 4 one of a kind people that you're never going to see again as a basketball fan. And yet people for a long time were like, this is boring.
this is boring.
But I think a lot of it had to do with the fact that Duncan just was so different than the other stars. You had Iverson, you had Kobe.
His facial expression never changes.
Right. And you had all these people who were these personalities. And Duncan's personality was that he was just the missionary position of legendary power forwards.
Which, by the way, voted #1 position by
right, and he's the best power forward of all time. So there you go.
Well, I'm just throwing that out there. No, and I also think it's because you have such a problem with Sean Elliott. Let's talk about that.
Well, he's a homer.
Well, of course you're a homer.
I know.
I'm a homer. We're all homers.
I know. Well, he's like, there's levels of being a homer, and he's as high as it goes. Like, he actually is yelling at the referees and stuff during a game. Like, Tommy Heinsohn did that, but Tommy Heinsohn's like in his 80s. Like, he's a crazy person.
But aren't you supposed to be a homer if you're on the local?
That's what they want.
Yeah.
They want homers.
Like, otherwise you wouldn't hire a former player.
People want to watch their team play with announcers who are like their family members complaining about the officials.
Yes, because they have a microphone and they're saying what we want to say.
Right.
Yeah, it is there. And Memorial Day miracle. Come on, man. He's a hero in San Antonio.
He is.
He went through that kidney thing.
Yeah.
He was my favorite player for.
I'm pro Sean Elliott. I think out of all the homers, though, he's up there. Oh, the homer announcers.
You do like a top 10 list of.
I'm the same guy who did a fist pump during a Celtics pick during a draft.
I'm very
so
aware.
It's not like I have a lot of legs to stand on.
You're on the internet too, Bill. I've seen it.
I know. This. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean it's fine, but I also think, and I actually also hope that sports broadcasting in general. I've never had an issue with people being fans. Like, there's that idea that we're supposed to be robots and made of rock and you cannot root for anyone and you don't have favorites. Oh, please. Even parents have favorite children. They're just lying to you. It's just that I think for so many years.
That got a laugh in the studio.
Was that?
Yeah.
Oh, nice.
Somebody liked that back then.
Well, because they're probably wondering if it's them.
Yeah.
Like, oh, no, which one?
Or realizing that it's not.
Not them.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know. I like that we're sort of like, okay, I think Twitter's a part of that too, because now on Sundays, if you're not working, you're a Sports Center anchor. We know who all their favorite teams are now. That used to not be the case. I love it.
Jalen and Jacoby and I talked about this. We did a podcast on Friday, so I'm going to rehash one point I made. My thing is, I'm transparent about who I like. Most of the media people all have people and teams that they like.
Sure.
They just hide it. And they all push the same little agendas or whatever, but we wouldn't know.
We're just horrible at hiding stuff.
My thing is, like, that's the team I like. I've written some of the meanest things I've ever written in my life about the Celtics. Like, 5 of my 10 harshest columns were probably Celtics columns because I love the Celtics and I get passionate both ways.
Right.
But I think there's a lot of protection that goes on with media members and teams and players.
Oh, for that.
And looking the other ways and save the relationship. And I'm not going to kill the GM because that's a source for me. And that's the stuff that I don't think people realize. So I'd rather be transparent than.
I would too. But I'm also lucky in that my job allows, like, I'm not out there trying to break a story.
Right.
I'm not trying to get the scoop. I just am allowed to have an opinion and do TV. So it's a much easier position to be in that regard. Like, I don't have to worry about any of those relationships.
I'm friends with the Houston GM, which I've talked about, and I've helped him with the Dorkapalooza conference and all that stuff. I thought he should have re-signed Chandler Parsons.
think a lot of people thought that.
Yeah. I don't care if his contract was bad.
You let him go to an in-state rival.
Yeah, you lost an asset.
Yeah, thanks a lot, buddy.
But we were talking about this because Barkley revealed recently something that I thought everybody knew, but apparently not, that Jordan turned on him because Barkley killed him for doing a bad job with Charlotte, and it ruined their friendship.
That's ridiculous.
People were surprised to hear about that. Well, we talked about that. I was saying, like, if Jalen was a GM of a team, would I be able to go on TV and say that he was doing a terrible job? And I ultimately said I wouldn't be able to do it.
You would not.
I wouldn't.
But let me ask you this. If you're Michael Jordan, because I do think sometimes the things we get most mad at are the things we know are true.
Right. So you're hitting close to home.
Right. It's like, I would like to believe that in a while he'll be able to sit back with a nice scotch and a cigar and be like, Charles was right. I am lousy. It's not working.
It makes me think there was more to the reasons the friendship fell apart than just.
Yeah, because I feel like men, and maybe I'm wrong in saying this, but I feel like men are.
I'm excited. Whatever you're going to say.
I know. I want to know. Like, maybe that's right. Men are better about critiquing each other, or at least kind of being like, "Oh, dude, you're totally wrong on this," and then just moving on like it didn't happen. Like, that's part of my day.
Good point.
And
women might not be as good at that.
I feel like we don't take the criticism as well. So that's why I'm like, I hear that story and I just go, that's so little. Who cares? You're a bad GM.
Although Jordan's half Italian like we are. Not technically Italian, but he was an honorary Italian.
And isn't he married to, is she Brazilian or she's something?
Brazilian.
Oh, see, there's fire there.
Yeah, the Brazilians.
Fire and passion.
Yeah, but he holds grudges.
Of course he does.
He's an honorary Italian. Alpha. That would be a good list, the honorary Italians.
And then to try to actually it would be good to try to guess first based on what we know of their personalities.
Oh, that's like it sounds like an SNL sketch.
It really is.
Yeah.
I'm sure we'll get, some letters from the Italian, whatever they are.
Send them to me. I'm half Italian.
I know. The same people that wrote The Sopranos. Myself. Yeah, I'm not going to get mad.
We make the best sauce.
I made sauce this weekend, and I've cooked 6 times in my life.
Can you make meatballs?
Well, I literally have cooked 6 times in my life. I've just had this moment where I'm like, I'm going to make something.
I have the most stereotypical Italian mom in the sense that she makes the food and then demands that we come over and pick it up. Like, she just likes cooking.
That is so good, though.
Yeah, she's like, come over and get it. Come get the food. I made meatballs.
So she made it with no intention of, she's going to eat it.
It's Sunday at 1 o'clock. She's like, I'm going to make meatballs.
Done. You know what? My mom is actually the opposite of a stereotypical Italian. She is fiery and passionate and no filter, but it just stops there. She doesn't drink at all. She's actually allergic to alcohol. She hates to cook.
Your mom doesn't drink?
At all. I once saw her. My parents were going through a divorce, and I watched my mom drink a sip of a Heineken, and then I remember watching her be sick for 6 hours after that. And then I was 18 at the time, so I hadn't had a sip of alcohol either. So I'm watching this going, man, alcohol's really strong.
Yeah, watch out for that.
Sip of that.
Jeez.
Yeah, totally allergic to it. She's just the opposite.
And your dad's
super American.
Texas guy.
No, actually not. Pennsylvania. He moved to Texas years ago, though.
Oh, how long has he been in San Antonio?
Oh, 6th grade. What was that? How old am I in 6th grade? I don't even know.
15 years ago.
Sounds about right. Man, I am aging horribly.
Yeah.
That's the case.
What is happening?
Good Lord.
So he's outside San Antonio.
He's a Texan now.
And that's why you're a Spurs fan.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. No, because when we moved there, that was, I grew up part of my life in Dallas, the early part. So I went to Mavericks game and Rangers games, and I thought Oddibe McDowell was the coolest name I'd ever heard in my life. And then when we moved to San Antonio, I was old enough to then really start to care about it. And that was it. It was a no-brainer.
So he got you into sports?
Kind of. The funny thing about my dad is it took him a while, I think, to realize that I really do love to watch sports. Whereas I have a brother, and I think he thought that he was the one that was super. I remember he'd go to golf tournaments, celebrity golf tournaments, and he'd play golf with Emmitt Smith. And he'd come back with a signed Emmitt Smith thing, and he would give it to my brother. And I'd always be like, I isn't even going to appreciate that. He's going to shove it in a drawer somewhere. So I think it took him a while. I mean, once you start making a living doing this, it's probably oh, wait a minute. But yeah, I think the assumption was always at first the boy was going to be the one.
God, if I did that to my daughter, I feel like she would deck me.
I mean, yeah, she's wired. She's wired for this.
I do wonder, though. See, my kids are weird because they like going to games.
All right.
They don't like watching the games as much on TV. They like being there. They like feeling it.
But they're young.
They're young, but I wonder if by taking my daughter to so many hockey games at an early age, if I ruin a normal sports experience for her. Because now she's like, I need to be there. No, I can't really get into it unless I'm there. And
you've ruined dating for her because any boy is going to be like, hey, do you want to go watch the game? Or do you want to sit up in the nosebleeds? And she's like, no.
I didn't tell you this. She said something recently. She's like, Dad, I'm going to date athletes. I was like, what do you mean? And she's like, it would be really fun to go to their games.
So good.
And she's like, and I'll be in games and they'll be in games. So that's who I'm going to date. And I really like hockey players. And then she did this evil laugh that I've never heard before. And I was like, oh, I didn't even know what to do with myself.
I mean, how do we handle this? I feel like we need to handle it.
The thing is, hockey players are the best people to date. If she's going to date people, then hockey.
If you're having to pick an athlete, sure.
Easily, right?
Yeah, I think so.
They're the easiest going. In college, they were always like the most fun people to hang out with.
They're most down to earth.
Most down to earth. A lot of Canadians.
A lot of Canadians. Canadians are obviously super nice.
She knows hockey, so if it's going to be an athlete, it might be a phase.
Well, the other thing is, she's going to be doing her own thing and playing sports, whatever. She's not going to go about it like I think some people do. So I think it'll be a different, like a level playing field. But I mean, as someone who's gone down that road and now will never do it again, it's a phase. I feel like it's a phase for women, though. Maybe she'll just, get that out of her system.
One hockey player?
Boom, move on.
So you've dated a hockey player?
Yeah, I mean, I've dated like athletes. And for those of you who think, oh yeah, I know, I read about it on the internet. That's actually not a true story. So anyways.
Oh, okay. I didn't know what that was.
Yeah, no, it's,
okay.
I think because when you're like in college and high school, so like athletes are always, they're competitive, which if you're competitive, you like that in another person. They're athletic. Like there's something about it. They sort of live life on a bigger level a lot of times. But then as you get older, you're like, oh, no.
They're very loyal to one another, hockey players.
To one another, yes.
Great teammates.
Yes. That's what, like I said, they stick together. It's very rare that you'll hear one come out against another.
You never dated a tennis player, did you?
No. That's so she.
See, I think that's the best one to date.
Tennis?
Yeah, because you get to be in the box, you get to be on TV.
Yeah, but you have to behave.
That made
so well.
Bridget Sampras Wilson, whatever her name is, like it made her career. She had 3 extra years. And Brooklyn Decker?
Yeah.
You get a lot of these?
Yeah, a lot of pretty shots of your face.
Yeah. You're looking.
Tennis is tough. Have you been like?
It's the best high-profile one.
Yeah, but I also feel like you. It's a weird place to be a sports fan because you're not allowed to be rowdy and cheer, and it's
That's
very
true.
like you're
not good for my daughter or you.
No, I don't love it. Don't love it. Golf's the other one. Although I would push.
Golf's good because you get the hug right after they win the tournament. You get to walk out.
You
on the green,
like
you get
that?
a big hug. Well, it's high profile. If you're looking for like.
I hate it so freaking much.
The hug?
Yeah. Do you have a good day at the office and does your wife come out and hug you afterwards? What is that? It's the dumbest thing I've ever.
My wife like wouldn't cry after something like that. She'd be fired up. She'd be like, "Come over," like she'd hug me, like she'd just be fired up that I did it.
Yes, it always irked me that the whole like trotting out of the family. I never really got it. I just sort of feel like those are two separate entities.
This is an important question.
Oh God.
Longoria dating Parker.
Well, the funny
she became the first lady of the Spurs. Was kind of on your corner.
Sure, if you think everyone liked her, but
that's what I'm getting at.
I know,
it seemed like very like I'm going to sit here. Where's the camera?
Yeah.
Okay, there it is. I'm going to position my body this way, and
because it's one of those things where let's be honest. She's not Meryl Streep level, so I'm thinking that those like
she was hot though at the time.
Yeah, I was like Desperate Housewives.
That show was hot at the time.
But it's sort of like there are certain levels of, I guess, fame where relevance has to be kept. Like you have to be seen. You have to walk red carpets. That's like you have to have a PR person. So I think that was always that case. However, the best part about that is that when Tony Parker came over here from France, because he was my very first sit-down interview, like as a quote-unquote
When you said very first, I didn't know where that was going.
He was
very first. I was like,
that would be great. You should just edit it, like stop it right there, and then just
da-da-da. Very first, we'll just bleep it. We'll do like the Kimmel bleeping.
As a kid,
he was my very first.
And then I just go on for like 20 minutes. What is she saying? He was fresh off the plane from France. The accent was super thick, and he had a girlfriend with him when he came here, a French girlfriend.
And you knew he was getting rid of her.
You knew the second you saw her.
Expiration date.
Yeah, the face wasn't great. Super fan of his, like wearing the hat and the jersey and the whole. And you're just like, she's going to get crushed. Yeah. And the next thing you know, he marries Eva Longoria. It hurts. It hurts. You see the writing on the wall sometimes. Bless her heart. But she's got stories now, and I'm sure,
Tony's now like the bad boy of the NBA in terms of he's dated a few people. He's dated around.
He's dated friends of teammates.
There's might be stories. Who knows if they're true or not true?
I know. That is one of those.
He's kind of like the bad boy, though. Like, it's like if Tony's, like, let's say you were single. You're not single right now, but you're at I don't know, somewhere some night, and Tony starts making the moves on you. It's kind of one of those, this guy's dangerous, I should stay away, but at the same time, there's something here.
Younger version of me would have,
You
definitely.
15 years,
I
should stay away. But that's like, he's in a good place right now because when you get that way if you want to date Hollywood celebrities, once you get into that area.
Well, no, because he married that lady, that woman. But they had just had a baby.
Oh, he got married?
Yeah, she's
forget
foreign,
this whole conversation.
Well, I mean, you don't necessarily forget it. Just they're newlyweds.
Because there are actors who have, like Sean Penn. If you're a woman, you should be like, you know who I'm not dating? Sean Penn.
I agree.
But Sean Penn, he's got that history and that baggage, and
it's not only like what we think we know about them. It's also the public perception of them, because now all of a sudden you're telling your friends, like, I'm dating Sean Penn. And your friends are like, what?
Why?
Why are you doing that?
Are you kidding?
Is everyone else dead? Like, why would you be dating Sean Penn? So it's sort of like you not only have to deal with your inner voice, you're also, there's judgment from everyone.
Well, especially like if it's, or like, let's say you're dating Leo. Leo just dates models.
I would feel so inadequate.
Well, but he just...
Although...
Leo doesn't stay with people. He's not wired that way.
No, Derek Jeter.
He
did it the right way.
But yet girls date Leo and they date Derek Jeter and deep down they're thinking, I'm going to be the one.
I'm the one.
Yeah.
I'm going to change this.
It's 20-year pattern. It's all changing with me.
Well, but in defense of that, Clooney, one did. It appears that they will. I don't know. It's if they may not get married at the end of it all, but it appears as though one has changed it. Can't happen.
I'm dubious.
I am dubious too. I believe nothing.
He did move to Italy, so he's smart.
Oh, he's so smart.
That's where all rich people should live, who are famous celebrities.
Yeah, you buy a villa, obviously.
Nobody
you can't call it a house.
With you.
No.
He was just like, I'm too famous and I'm not living here anymore.
It's miserable here.
Yeah. Everywhere I go, I leave a restaurant, people are staring at me.
By the way, does that ever been a life that appealed to you? That kind of
super famous celebrity life?
People really want that. Like, that's a thing. I don't get it. I've never gotten it. I don't know. I think about it sometimes.
It doesn't seem like you look at like when it happens early to people.
Yeah.
Like Michael Jackson, Britney Spears, Elvis. They all go off the deep end. All of them.
How wouldn't you? It's not reality.
They all become addicted to something, or they just goes in a weird direction. It's not a normal way to do it. To be like, I can't go to the mall.
Yeah.
I can't go to pick up takeout food. I can't do anything. Like Michael Jordan, his last 3 Bulls years was like just living in a hotel suite.
That's depressing to me, by the way.
Yeah. Just playing cards with like his bodyguard. That was his life for 3 years. Everybody's like, oh, I want to be like Mike. Here's Mike. You're in a hotel suite.
Yeah, you can't
playing with Bubba, the bodyguard.
The greatest level of fame is like an Al Pacino type. Like, you're one of the best at what you do. You can get a great table at any restaurant whenever you feel like it, but there aren't cameras following you around. Like, that's perfect, I think.
I like the ones that seem to handle it the best are the ones like Nicholson, who just does no interviews at all.
God, isn't that great?
And he just kind of appears at Laker games and when he's doing a movie. And other than that, we don't think about him. No. We don't try to digest him. We don't know what he's like. We don't really...
How confident do you have to be in yourself to have decided that early on and stuck with it through your career? I mean, that's that's a big sense of self.
Who gets his seat? I like to ask people this question. Who gets his seat when Nicholson goes? God forbid someday.
When he goes, does that mean Diane Cannon went?
You can't give the seat to Diane Cannon.
I just feel like you move everyone up.
Oh, it's like a waiting list?
You're like, yes, moving on.
That's interesting.
Because I don't know.
Jack died?
No, I'm center court.
Nope, Flea's ahead of you.
Oh, see, I don't know. Or do you give it to one of these new young ones?
I think Leo gets the seat. I just think.
Is that on acting level?
The only other one you could talk me into is Denzel.
That's not bad either. And then the tiebreaker is who goes to more games now.
See, I don't know. I don't have all the research on that.
Either.
I wrote about this once, and people seem pretty split between Leo and Denzel. Because Leo's good because you get a long tail with Leo.
Yeah.
Leo's going to be around 35, 40 more years. You get a lot of like weird. You get Tobey Maguire with them.
I mean, the eye candy he's going to bring. Think about that.
Get eye candy. Like Denzel's just bringing his wife or his kids. Like that's not nearly as fun as Leo.
Not as sexy.
No.
Yeah, you're right.
Leo, like he'll wear weird hats and weird outfits.
He might get a little tipsy. We don't know. I don't think Denzel.
He's a legit fan.
Denzel's not doing that.
Have you been to a Laker game?
Yes, but not like. Well, and then when I did cover the Nets, like I was there a few times. It is such a it's such a fun people watching experience. It really is. Like you really don't watch much of the game sometimes.
Yeah,
you're like, oh my God, is that so and so? And
it's its own event.
So-and-so. And what happens is your brain starts to play tricks on you because now you think everyone's famous. You're like, I think that's somebody. It's not anybody, but it happens.
That's welcome to be married to my wife.
She does that all the time. Yeah. I love it.
Yeah. Bill, it's Meryl Streep. And you get closer, it's like, it's a black woman. It's like, what are you doing?
And she's working at Starbucks. Yeah, like, no.
Like, that's not Meryl Streep. That's a barista.
It could be. Maybe it's for a role. She's doing research.
She's the worst. Our whole family makes fun of her. We call her the bum steers. She so just can't. She's the worst celebrity spotter who ever lived.
And to do it here, I mean, here it's just never ending.
Yeah.
But I do. I think every day I'm like, oh, I'm pretty sure that's so-and-so. I mean, they look nothing like them, but I know it was.
Well, we're near the beach, especially. You get a lot of the younger.
Because everyone thinks so low key.
Yeah, the youngers wearing like the hat.
Yeah.
And the coffee.
Although Steve, his gym has a lot of celebrities, so that's interesting.
Oh.
Yeah. So I'll like go there with a couple times, and like those pretty kids from like those Vampire Diary shows are there, and you're just sort of like, oh yeah, that's them.
That guy.
I feel, and I'm like, I'm 40. What am I doing? Why am I watching bicep curls? It's so stupid, but it's so funny. Like, oh, they work out. I thought they just didn't eat. I guess they do both. It's good. It's good to know.
I went to Seth's Emmy party after he did the Emmys.
Yeah.
And
God,
I don't know.
Such a big timer.
No,
you really are.
I'm friendly with Seth.
But you're on like a different level.
Seth's my friend. No, I'm not.
Yeah, you are.
No, I'm not. But I saw whatever. I've seen a lot of celebrities. I worked for Jimmy's show. We had celebrities on all the time.
Right.
Like I'm used to seeing celebrities at this point. Saw Robin Wright.
Oh.
There's certain celebrities where you just want to be like, look, I don't mean to be a weirdo. Can I just stare at you for 45 seconds? Like not like in a sexual way. I just want to just stare at you and digest you.
She's I think she's one of those, like, she's better now. I was at I think it was Webby Awards like a couple years ago, and she and Kevin Spacey were there, and I don't know why, and she was standing in front of me. And first of all, she was just sort of like loosey-goosey and fun. She was nice to everyone, which I always pay attention because I'm like, oh, please don't be a jerk. Don't be a jerk. But yeah, she's stunning. I mean, look, you're stunning when you can do a tiny little haircut and you're still stunning.
Right. When you can basically have a man's haircut and it doesn't matter.
Charlize Theron's another one.
Yeah. The other one with those, the taller ones, it's more striking when you see them. Like Robin Wright's like 5'11", and it's just like everything's going on at the same time. You're like, oh my God. And then they're gigantic. They're like, they jump out of the TV screen. Katie Holmes was like that. Katie Holmes is like...
Is she tall? I've never been around her.
She's like 5'11".
Really?
And she's beautiful.
And she wore heels with Cruz. I don't understand anything.
She just wanted to... It was her subtle way to fight back with Cruz.
By the way, the wardrobe she got out of that, good for her. Designed just for her.
I don't know if that marriage was good for her. I don't know if being married to Tom Cruise is good for you.
Well, I mean...
Financially, it's good for you.
Financially, it's good for you. I don't know that it's gone into like maybe what the idea was, that all of a sudden you'd be like wanted and cast in all these roles. Like that doesn't seem to be happening.
No.
It's just, that was weird. The whole thing was weird. I mean, beautiful and fun for TV, but just weird.
Tom Cruise is weird.
Tom Cruise is a lot of things. I don't want to break anyone's heart and tell him though.
Don't say anything. Well,
Mission Possible.
And that concludes our pilot episode for the new ESPN morning show, whatever it's called. I don't know.
What should we call it?
I don't know.
It needs a name though.
Send Twitter reply if you're not the people who don't send Twitter replies to Beadle to be mean, who are actually like friendly. Send us an idea for our fake morning show.
That would be really awesome.
Do you know that I have one of the most important guys behind the scenes for Grantland? This guy Chris Ryan.
Yeah. Who
is a fan of yours?
2 first names. Scary.
Is that bad?
Can be. So
we always had a joke that somehow, I don't know how it started, but we had a joke that after you left the NBC show, because we all knew you were going to leave, that you were going to come back and have a show with Chris called CR and the Beads.
That's awesome.
And it's been a running joke for like a year and a half.
I don't hate
Sierra
it.
and the Beads.
Sierra and the Beads.
So when I said I had Beads today on the podcast, and I could sense he was kind of like, because now he's like this close to Sierra and the Beads. Like, you're in this building.
Why aren't we doing it?
We might have to do one Sierra and the Beads just because it would make everyone in the Grantland office so happy. But we should announce, since this is the tail end.
Yeah.
In all seriousness.
Yeah.
You do have a podcast.
I know.
It's coming in the Grantland Network.
I'm so excited.
We're either starting it this week or next week.
Are we going to have a talk on like what I can and cannot do and say?
It's taped. It's great for you.
That's really good.
What happens, and this is, these guys could tell you, sometimes you'll straddle the line and maybe go over it. And maybe you'll tip over it like a tree.
Yeah.
And then afterwards they'll say, hey, at the 14-minute mark.
That's good, though. You need that.
It's good, because then you can dance with the line.
Say it. Like, I'll never be like, oh, maybe I shouldn't have said that. I'll always be like, I said it.
Say it and figure out the repercussions after the fact.
It's always easier to say sorry than ask for permission.
Good point. Use that for your senior yearbook quotes, high school kids.
Stay cool.
Yeah, so do we have a name for the podcast?
No, we need to think of it. I have been thinking, though. I've been like having my friends also. I'm like, we need something good.
Because, I mean, you could call it the Michelle Beadle podcast.
Oh,
that would be boring.
That's a good one.
Well, that'd be boring.
Yeah, it's got to be my last name, right? I feel like that's all anyone calls me anyways.
This podcast was originally called Eye of the Sports Guy.
Get out.
How bad is that?
That's horrible.
It was terrible.
Eye of the Sports Guy.
I don't know how it happened. And then I knew it was bad, and I asked for recommendations from the readers, and somebody had the BS report done, boom.
Yeah.
So by the third one, it was called the BS report.
That's so funny. By the way, I don't hate the idea of kind of putting it out there for like ideas, because despite
how about this? Put it out there for idea.
People out there, yeah.
So if you have an idea, Michelle D. Beadle.
Yeah, at Michelle D. Beadle.
At Michelle D. Beadle, if you have an idea.
That's a good idea.
My take on this is either Michelle or Beadle or Beads or Bead or some part of one of your names has to be in the podcast title.
I say last name, yeah, and some version of that.
So something with Bead.
Oh my God. And does it need alliteration? That's the one where it starts with the same letter, right? I always forget. Onomatopoeia?
I don't know.
Anagram? I don't know.
I stopped remembering what these rules were when I was like 19. Remember the SATs though when it mattered?
Can you imagine now? Actually, I've always wanted to go back and take an SAT now, having lived life, because I do think those are probably a hell of a lot easier now. Like
that would
LSAT.
be a fun tape segment.
I think it would be. Because those are they're a lot of logic-based. It's the LSAT especially, a lot of logic-based
The LSAT,
ideas.
we would get destroyed.
We should try it, though.
Yeah, normal SATs would be interesting, though.
I think they might be harder now. Who knows?
I don't think I would be able to get a safety school at this point.
Well, safety schools there aren't very many left. Like, I got into UT, so it was 94, so I went to Austin. I think it was the year after. I mean, I would have gotten in, and my grades were good. I don't want to make it sound like that. But the year after, all of a sudden, when they were like, oh, we got it's too many people. So they had to up the requirements. And all of a sudden, it went from like your safety school to people had to list it as like a number 1, number 2.
Wow.
Yeah. I was like, this is state school. And now it's at the top. It's pretty good. That's what happens. We had too many people. I think people should stop having babies. There's my first idea for a podcast.
Control the population. Sorry about your football team, by the way.
Which team?
UT.
Oh, I think, yeah. Oh,
it's really bad, right?
Yeah, but I like Strong. I like Coach Strong a lot.
Okay.
The problem is I think he would be a great NFL coach. If he stuck to what he's doing now, where he's not taking any of it and suspending kids and getting rid of them, he'd be awesome to have in the NFL, especially right now. I hope he sticks with that, because sometimes those voices in Texas are very loud. And when all of a sudden they're like, well, football's number 1. Remember that. It's tough to keep a job, I would imagine.
Austin's really a cool city.
It is.
You can't defend San Antonio over Austin.
No, and that's the thing. And I obviously love visiting because my friends are all in San Antonio. But I always said if I ever moved back to the state of Texas, I would most definitely live in Austin. It is a mix of everything. You have artsy people. You've got conservatives. You've got hippies. You got everything. You've got great weather if you can deal with the heat.
No state tax.
Well, yeah, that's a whole nother thing. You can have 47 guns. Just kidding. No, don't anything.
My fear with Austin would be a food thing.
What do you mean?
It's just too much barbecue, and I couldn't stay away.
I couldn't stay. And it's.
I went for South by Southwest for like 4 days.
Where'd you eat?
All over the place.
Franklin's.
La Barbecue.
Yeah. Did you do what's the one out? Oh, God, Salt Lick. Is that what it's called?
No, but I've done that before.
Yeah.
I've done most of them.
You're right. But you'd get sick of barbecue. Plus, the restaurant scene there is
I don't know. That's like when you say to a musician, like, "No, you'll get sick of cocaine." No, I feel like being around barbecue that much. I don't know what happened to me.
You're 900 pounds.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Well, barbecue is something you should only eat once a week.
Why?
Like, there's certain foods. No, it's heavy. Like it's.
By the way, I love that you should have it once a week. Like it's just part of.
It's like almost like a delicacy.
But if you don't eat the bread, how is it bad for you?
Because you're putting tons of meat in your body with
I don't
sauces.
think there's anything wrong with that.
Or maybe your body just gets used to it.
That's true. And do you become irregular, or are you regular now because it got used to it?
I don't know.
God, these are a lot. We have a lot.
It's a lot of meat. I just don't think it's good to eat meat that much.
Oh, I think you're supposed to have meat every day. What is wrong with you?
This is good. I'm glad we're disagreeing on our fake morning show pilot.
If you don't have meat, what kind? It's not even a meal. Wait, like any kind of animal meat?
I like meat.
But
I think it's good to mix it up with your.
Do you have meals that don't involve meat?
I like fish.
Okay.
I'll have a salad sometimes.
Just a salad?
I have soup and a salad. I'm done.
Without meat on the salad? That's not.
I need some chicken on there.
All right, that's better. There's no way a salad like people that say they just eat salad, they're not full then. You're miserable.
What's your number one barbecue spot?
Well, I worked at a Rudy's when I was like 16.
I've done Rudy's.
The original Rudy's out in Leon Springs, Texas. Yeah.
About 25 miles outside of San Antonio?
Yeah. It's actually kind of close to where I grew up.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it'd be 103 degrees outside, and it's an outdoor restaurant, and we'd be in there sweating. By the way, how gross is that? We are in there sweating while they're
sweating on the food.
But it doesn't matter because the line went around the building. It's an amazing phenomenon. It was. I don't know if it is like that anymore, but every time I go home, I have it. And every time I'm like, oh, God. Am I done? It's like 8 days of running gone, just like that. But you should have meat every meal.
The Michelle Beadle podcast that doesn't have a name yet. Unnamed. You know what would be a good one? I actually thought this would be a good one. Like something about like a project or like what's it called when you have like something you always wanted to do?
Like a bucket list type thing, or like a
dream project. I wrote it down. I thought it was a good name for a pod.
Like that you
I'll send it to you. Like the Michelle Beadle.
Because there's like the Mindy Kaling project.
No, it wouldn't be the Michelle. It was like a dream project or like vanity project or.
All right, I'm gonna think
something.
Are you a writer? Your vocabulary is supposed to be better than mine.
Well, we just you burned my brain out. It was like an hour long podcast.
Getting dumber.
Send her some ideas.
Yeah.
Thank you for coming on.
Thanks for having me.
I've been enjoying your advanced role as a speaker of things.
We're working on it.
Yeah.
Thanks.
Stick to your guns. Don't listen to the weirdos out there.
It's either that or retire.
Yeah. Thank you.
So I get the sign off. Whoa.
Thank you for downloading the BS Report with Bill Simmons.
Too much fun.
Check out more podcasts at the iTunes Music Store or at Podcenter at ESPNradio.com.
Peace out.
Hey, what you got there, Golick?
The new Subway Chipotle chicken melt with guacamole.
Man, that looks good.
Yeah, this new guac is really bringing the flavor.
Got one for me too, right?
Well, yes and no. Mostly no. Well, really, all no.
Try the irresistible new Subway Chipotle chicken melt with guacamole, juicy grilled chicken strips with Monterey cheddar, Chipotle Southwest sauce, and new guacamole made from ripe Hass avocados with just a hint of jalapeno. Subway, eat fresh.